So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. OnePlus 8 Pro, should you buy it now? We are now in January, late January, going into February of 2021. This phone is not even a year old. The OnePlus 8 Pro actually comes in at around $799 right now. Other flagships that have competing hardware do have a price tag of around $1,000 right now. You can also get this phone a little bit cheaper depending on where you look. I've seen it in the fives used already, so definitely a very compelling option right now if you want a lot of spec for the money. Now, if you take a look at the front here, we have a QHD 6.78-inch display. Now, this thing can also run at 120 hertz, as you might see in this video, just how smooth this thing is. It's one of the most beautiful displays I've ever seen on an Android device. Now, you can scroll down here. You see you have vibrant color effects, but if you go into advanced, you can tweak that thing to 120 hertz at the QHD plus resolution. There's also tons of screen calibration you could do here in advanced. You got AMOLED wide gamut sRGB, natural and vivid modes. But on the back of this phone, also a 48 megapixel main sensor, an 8 megapixel telephoto, and you have this awesome 48 megapixel wide. But one thing I really liked about this camera right here is just the ability to do super close macro. So if we go into this camera right here, you can put on this super macro mode, and this camera can get extremely close to things. I mean, like a millimeter close, like really close, 1 to 1.5 inches. So if you're that type of person who likes detailed shots, you like to get really close on things, you will love the OnePlus 8 Pro's camera setup. Also, this thing has 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, depending on which one you go with, which market you're in. So do keep that in mind. 4510 milliamp hour battery, which should make for easily a day of battery life on this phone. So you can see it's still a compelling value with all this spec that the OnePlus 8 Pro offers. Okay, so should you buy this phone in terms of the body? Well, first of all, I just want to say I love this textured back. This green glass just looks really beautiful. It's a Gorilla Glass 5, and it's super durable. You don't really see any fingerprints on this phone. On the edge, the aluminum frames kind of wrap and curve around the display, which is also a Gorilla Glass 5 display here, and IP68 dust and water resistant. Now, this thing is a pretty tall phone right here, so do keep that in mind, but it's not super thick at 8.5 millimeters, so you're not looking at something overly thick. You can see that the camera bump on this phone is a little bit protruding, but a case easily fixes that. And yes, by the way, this has been in a case for most of its life, so don't think because you're seeing it with no case in this video, I haven't been rocking this carbon fiber look for the OnePlus 8 Pro. I just take it off for the video. You can see SIM card tray down there and USB-C port. So overall, the only thing I would say about this phone is if you're not into curved displays, you might not like it. But the overall body just feels a little bit tall and got a good weight to it. It feels premium, 199 grams. So definitely I do recommend it if you're into bigger devices. You will definitely like OnePlus 8 Pro. Okay, so I want to quickly further elaborate on the display of this phone. Now, we do have our punch hole down here to the left here, but look at how much screen size you have. And the colors on this phone are just insane. So this display right here actually gives you a fluid AMOLED that makes it super smooth, but 1 billion colors. Not a lot of phones have the color reproduction that the OnePlus 8 Pro does give you. This is also an HDR10 Plus display. The only phone I could think of that could be a little bit sharper maybe is like those Sony phones with 4K displays, but even those I don't think look better than this panel just because of how colorful this thing is. Also, let's not just talk about video. When it comes to the text, you're looking at 513 pixels per inch density. That is an extremely sharp display. So, I mean, this is so sharp that you would never ever see like any pixelation ever on this phone. Even if you might have to drop it all the way down into its lowest screen resolution to even see that. So really impressed by how sharp the text is on here. It's actually very noticeable if you put it next to a display with a much lower resolution because it's so high at 513 ppi. So major win to the display. Not only that, combine this display with how smooth the Oxygen OS is for the OnePlus. You don't have any delays, any stutters. It just feels ultra reliable, ultra slick, ultra smooth on the day-to-day. All right, so we're going to talk about software and performance combined. Now we have the Oxygen OS on here, and we also do have the Android 11. So you can see right there, Oxygen OS 11.0.2.2. I've been checking for updates. That's the latest version I'm on right here. Now, if we go ahead and we look at this phone, this face unlock is silly fast. I mean, silly fast. You can barely even see it and you're already in. You don't even know sometimes that you unlock this phone right here. By the time you look at it, it knows you're there. It knows who you are. It knows you're there. Now, if we click this in-display fingerprint sensor, this thing is also one of the most reliable and easy to use ones in the world on a smartphone. Now, one thing I don't really like is that at nighttime, the little animation from the fingerprint can be a little bit too bright. So sometimes I switch to the passcode at night, but definitely a very fast experience there. Now, in terms of the software, it seems like OnePlus just adds on a few things over the top of vanilla Android to give it, just a little bit more features and customization. So if you're in the heavy customization of your phone, you will really like the OnePlus device because they give a lot of it to you here right within their own software. You can change accent colors, system icons, and it does it in a clean way where it doesn't like mess up the Android experience. It doesn't make it look messy. You can just kind of customize it how you want without making the whole phone look like a mess. So really do like the software there. Performance is strong with the 12 gigs of RAM and the 865 CPU in here at 7 nanometer. Yes, it's not going to beat the 888, but I mean, you're not going to pay $1,000 for this, and this thing is still going to fly through basically everything you could throw at. I could never get the 865 to lag, so I can only imagine what the 888 is going to do. All right, guys, so let's talk about the storage really quickly. 128 gigs. It's a standard for flagships. I used about 53% already on this phone, so yeah, that's quite a bit of space though. I think it'll be enough for most people. Now, I want to move on to the camera. We talked about the super macro mode earlier, but every time you take a photo in here, what I really loved about the OnePlus 8 Pro was just its consistency. You can also go here to 3x, and then after that, it becomes digital zoom all the way up to 30x. So lots of zoom on this guy. Also, you can back it out ultra wide to 0.6. Now, this is not the most ultra wide I've seen on the market, but it's still very acceptable. Very, very nice. You can change to 1:1. You can do a full screen photo right here. And if you go on Instagram and you type in like hashtag OnePlus 8 Pro, you'll see a ton of beautiful samples that were taken on this phone. Now you can see right here, we can do video. And also if we do video here in HDR, we can do it in 60 FPS, 4K. So it has plenty of resolutions that you could like, to use. Slow motion, panoramic, time lapse, very nice. Night mode, nightscape, pro modes even. Now I didn't see a pro mode for video, so this kind of seems like it's for the photography. We're going to go over here to the front camera, and you could see that here's your photo mode for the front. You can also go ahead and tweak that back down to 4:3. And this was also a pretty good camera. It was a 16 megapixel, it does 1080p on the front, so you're not getting your 4K on the front here, so that's a little bit annoying. Hopefully we see that upgraded in the next one. But you got ultra shot HDR, you got high efficiency video. I mean, what else could you want for this price point? It's a very amazing camera, and the best thing about it is the results. The results are clean from the OnePlus. Every time you take a sample, you're going to be pretty happy because it knows what to do, and I will put this up there with some of the best cameras in the Android game for sure. So let's talk about the battery life. This kind of depends on which mode you're in. I always ran it at full blast over here, full brightness basically, WQHD plus, and I was still able to get through a day, but not much more. 4510, if you do knock down the resolution, you take it off the 120 hertz, you can easily stretch into 2 days on this phone, but you're not going to get much else than a day if you're running this thing full blast, which I think most people might do with this beautiful 120 hertz QHD plus display. Definitely might be doing that. You're going to want to use it. So you're probably going to get about a day of battery life on this phone. And talking about the sound, and you're kind of in there. You don't really have the stellar glow. We have stereo speakers on here, so the sound is definitely very acceptable. And now let's talk a little bit about phone call quality. The 5G Qualcomm modems in here, super thumbs up, definitely a very good reception. You're getting a 5G phone for like $699, and you're getting flagship grade spec on here. I mean, what else could you want in terms of connectivity? Wi-Fi 6 on here, Bluetooth 5.1, everything is blazing fast, and it still is right now. There's a reason why OnePlus is still selling the OnePlus 8 Pro. It's not a slow phone at all. It's one of the fastest in the industry, actually. And because the software is so slick, it remains that way. So that brings me on to my conclusion of the OnePlus 8 Pro. Should you buy this phone? in 2021 right now? And the answer is undoubtedly yes. But keep in mind, if you want the latest and greatest, this phone is likely going to be upgraded very soon here. So do wait it out for that if you want the upgrade. But if you need a phone now at around $699, you can find it even cheaper. This is definitely a bang for the buck right now, way more so than when it first launched. So let me know your thoughts on the OnePlus 8 Pro. Are you going to pick one up? And if you want to see other phones like the 8T, the OnePlus 8, let us know down below. If you want to see OnePlus 9 coverage when it comes, let me know. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.